I need to say this up front. I did not walk into that night thinking, let me destroy my marriage on a dance floor. I wasn't planning some grand act of betrayal. I wasn't secretly hoping to run off with someone else. In my head, I was just being fun, being wild, being the version of myself I keep saying he doesn't let me be anymore. That's the story I was telling myself, at least. I wanted him to feel something. I wanted him to look at me with that mix of pride and desire he used to have when we first met. I wanted him to stop sitting in the corner like a tired statue and remember that I was still wanted. I did not want him to watch me kiss another man, turn around without a word, walk out of the club, and then quietly erase himself from our home before I even got back. But that's what happened. Because I did something I kept insisting was just a joke. I kissed another man on the dance floor, in front of my husband, and I laughed. If you ask him, I'm sure he'll say this all started on the dance floor. If you ask me, it started a lot earlier. It started with me feeling like our life had turned into one long beige hallway. Work, dinner, screens, sleep, repeat. No surprises, no spontaneity, no spark. He'd say that's just real life. I called it boring. That word became my favorite weapon. You're boring. This is boring. Our weekends are boring. It's not even a precise word, but it lands hard. It makes the other person feel small without you having to explain anything. I started saying it more and more. When he wanted to stay in on Friday nights and order takeout, you're boring. When he said he was too tired to go out after a long week, you're always boring. When he didn't laugh at the same videos I sent to my group chat, you have a boring sense of humor. He never snapped back at me with anything half as sharp. That was part of the problem. I'm the one who throws words like darts. He just absorbs them, goes quiet, and shuts down. So when I told him, on a Wednesday night in our kitchen, that our relationship felt boring and dead, I expected the usual. Hurt eyes, maybe a tense sigh, then some attempt at compromise. Instead, he put his fork down, looked at me across the table and said, "What do you want to do about it?" I wasn't ready for that. "Go out," I blurted. "Properly out. Not the same restaurant we always go to and home by 10. I want music. I want dancing. I want to feel like a person, not a calendar entry." He stared at me for a moment. "You want to go clubbing?" "Yes," I said. "Is that illegal?" "You hate crowds," he reminded me. "You say the music is too loud. You complain that your feet hurt after half an hour." "That's not the point," I snapped. "The point is, we used to do things. Now all we do is sit." He studied my face, then nodded once. "Okay, this weekend. You pick the place." I blinked. "Really?" "Yes," he said. "I'll go." It should have been a sweet moment. He listened. He agreed. He said yes. But instead of feeling grateful, I felt victorious. Like I'd won. Like I'd pushed hard enough and he'd finally caved. I told myself that was progress. Saturday night, I stood in front of the mirror, longer than I had in months. I chose the shortest dress I owned, the one that always gets comments. I did my hair with extra effort, full waves, sprayed into place. I layered on makeup until my face felt more like a mask than skin, but in a good way. A controlled, curated version of me. I wasn't dressing for him. I realize that now. I was dressing for the idea of being seen. He knocked on the bedroom door before coming in. "Ready?" I turned around with a little spin. "What do you think?" He looked nice in his own way. Button-down shirt, dark jeans, clean shoes, fresh shave. He'd clearly tried. He looked me up and down and smiled. "You look beautiful." I rolled my eyes. "You always say that." "Because it's always true," he said simply. That answer irritated me. I can't explain why. It felt automatic, like he'd pressed a button and an old line fell out. No spark, no effort, just, "You look beautiful," in the same tone he used to say dinner was good. "Do I look too much?" I asked, turning back to the mirror. He hesitated. "You look a little Different than usual. Different bad or different good, I pushed. He walked over and rested his hands on my shoulders in the mirror. Different, like you're trying to show everyone you still have it. Is that a problem? I shot back. He met my eyes in the glass. It could be, depending on who you're trying to show. I shrugged his hands off. Don't start with that. With what? He asked, stepping back. Jealousy, I said. That controlling, jealous thing. I'm not going to sit in a corner just because you're scared some guy might look at me. I'm not scared of someone looking at you, he said. I married you knowing people look at you. I'm worried about how far you'll go to prove you're still fun. I made a face. Wow. Encouraging. Thanks, he sighed. Forget it. Let's go. I grabbed my tiny bag, checked my reflection one more time, and followed him out. In the car, the silence felt dense. I filled it with music, scrolling to the loudest playlist I had. He let it play without comment. Eyes on the road, fingers tapping the wheel in a pattern I recognized as his stress signal. He didn't say he didn't want to go. He didn't complain. He kept his promise. Somehow, in my head, that still wasn't enough. The second we stepped inside, the air changed. The bass vibrated through everything. The floor, the tables, my ribs. Lights flashed in colors that made everyone look a little unreal. People pressed close together, shouting, laughing, raising glasses. I felt something loosen inside me. This is more like it, I shouted over the music. He nodded, already half looking for a less crowded spot. Do you want a drink? Yes, I said. Something strong. He gave me a look. Maybe start light? We just got here. I'm fine, I said. I'm not a teenager. I know my limits. He shrugged and went to the bar. The minute he walked away, 2 of the friends I'd invited spotted me. They squealed, hugged me, did that whole "you look amazing" routine. We took photos. I tilted my chin, adjusted my hair, made sure I looked good in every frame. He came back balancing 2 glasses. Here. I took mine and clinked it against his. To not being boring. He smiled faintly. To us having a good night. I downed half my drink in one go. From there, the night split. We were physically in the same place, but living 2 totally different evenings. His night, stand near the edge of the dance floor, hold his drink, watch, step forward any time someone pressed too close to me, step back when I waved him away. My night, laugh, spin, toss my hair, let the music drown out the small voice in my head that said, maybe I was doing too much. I kept telling myself I was proving a point. See? This is what fun looks like. This is what you make me miss when you insist on staying home. I didn't notice, or refused to notice, that most of the time he was standing a little behind me, always in my peripheral vision, always watching. It started small, like these things always do. A guy brushed past me and smiled. I smiled back. 2 songs later, he was dancing near me. Not touching, just nearby. He was exactly the kind of person my friends say, wow, he's brave about. Confident, nice smile, clearly comfortable in places like this. He leaned in after a song and shouted, "You look like you're actually having fun, unlike half the people here." I laughed. That's the goal. "Can I dance with you?" he asked, nodding toward the center. I should have said, "I'm here with my husband." I could have said, "No, thank you." Instead I said, "Sure," and glanced back to where my husband stood. He was there. He saw. I didn't read his expression. I didn't want to. The guy moved closer, hands respectful at first. I told myself it was innocent. Just dancing. Everyone does this. Nothing is happening. I'm allowed to be seen. Song after song blurred together. My drink refilled. My feet hurt, but the attention was numbing something else that hurt more. Every time my husband edged closer, I waved him back with a smile that said, "Don't be so serious. Relax." At one point he touched my arm and leaned in to ask, "Do you want to sit down for a bit? You've been going non-stop." I yelled back, "I'm fine," and turned away. That's important to remember later. How many times he tried to pull me back into our shared evening, and how many times I stepped right out of it. It happened halfway through a song I don't even remember now. The lights were low. The bass was heavy. Everyone around us was pressed in tight. The guy I'd been dancing with, I think his name was Eric, or maybe Evan, spun me around suddenly. I laughed, the way you do when you give control for a second. He put his hands on my waist to steady me. Then one hand slid up. He held my face. I had maybe 1-2 seconds where I could have stepped back. I didn't. He leaned in and kissed me. Not a quick peck, not an accidental brush, a full, real kiss right there on the dance floor. People around us saw, they shouted, someone whistled. One of my friends squealed and lifted her phone like she might record it. My hand, stupidly, landed on his shoulders. I let the kiss last a little longer than any person with a ring on her finger should. I tell myself I was shocked. I tell myself I was frozen. The truth is uglier. I liked the feeling of being wanted in that moment. I liked knowing other people saw. I liked the power. Then reality shoved its way back in. I pulled away, finally, laughing too loudly. Okay, that's enough. He grinned. Sorry, couldn't help it. I said the line that makes me cringe most now. It's fine. My husband knows I'm just playing. I turned around, ready to make eye contact with my husband and give him that, see, I'm only joking smile. He wasn't there. You know that sensation when you expect someone to be in a certain spot and your brain almost fills them in for a second? I looked to the corner where he'd been the whole night. Nothing. I scanned the edge of the dance floor. Nothing. I told myself he'd gone to the restroom, or to get another drink, or to check his phone where it was quieter, but my stomach dropped in a way that had nothing to do with music or drinks. I pushed my way through the crowd to the bar. Have you seen my husband? I asked the bartender. He shrugged. I don't know who your husband is. Right, of course he didn't. I checked the area near the entrance, the small lounge with the couches, the hallway by the restrooms. Nothing. Finally, I stepped outside into the cooler air. The streetlights made everything look sharper. Our car's spot near the entrance was empty. I stood there for a full 30 seconds, just staring. As if maybe he'd parked somewhere else and I'd forgotten. As if the car would appear if I looked long enough. It didn't. I took my phone out, hands shaking more than I wanted to admit. I called him, straight to voicemail. I hung up and called again. Voicemail. I sent a message. Where did you go? No answer. Another. Are you serious right now? It was just a joke. Still nothing. I tried to channel my panic into irritation. He's being dramatic, I told myself. He saw one silly kiss and stormed off. He's trying to scare me. He'll calm down. Behind me, the music pounded on. People laughed, shouted, danced. The world did not pause for my mistake. I went back inside because I refused to be the one left standing outside, like I'd done something truly unforgivable. I wasn't ready to admit that I had. I wish I could say I left immediately and went home. I didn't. I went back to my friends, who had all seen what happened and were in this half-excited, half-awkward mood. Where did he go? One of them asked, glancing around. He left, I said shortly. He's sulking. That was kind of a strong reaction, another friend said. You were just dancing. And he can see it's not serious, I added quickly. It's not like I ran off to a hotel. He knows me. One of them gave me a look I chose to ignore. You didn't exactly push that guy away, she said carefully. I bristled. Sorry, I didn't stage a whole drama for the crowd. I handled it. The same guy tried to dance with me again. This time I pulled back. I'm married, I said, irritated. He laughed. That didn't stop you 5 minutes ago. That sentence stung more than I let on. I stayed another hour. Why? Pride, stubbornness. I didn't want to be the one to run home chasing him. I told myself, if he wants to leave without talking, then let him wait for me. By the time the club closed, my head hurt, my feet ached, and the spark I'd been chasing all night felt like an old lighter. flashy for a second, then dead. I took a taxi home. In the back seat, I kept rehearsing what I would say when I walked in and found him there. You embarrassed me by walking out. You made me look like some wild person abandoned by her partner. You could have pulled me aside instead of leaving like that. Every version of the conversation centered on what he did wrong. Not once, on that ride, did I frame any sentence around, "I hurt you." The building was quiet when I got there. Our apartment door looked normal. That felt wrong somehow, like the hallway should have changed to match the way my stomach felt. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. Lights off. No sound from the living room. No shoes by the entryway. He usually leaves his shoes in a mess near the door. I always complain. I noticed their absence and forced myself not to panic. He went to bed, I told myself. He's sleeping. We'll talk in the morning. I called out softly anyway. "Liam?" Silence. I dropped my bag on the chair and walked through the apartment. The sofa was empty. No half-finished drink on the table. No jacket thrown over the back of the chair. The kitchen counters were clear. His keys, usually tossed in the same bowl, were gone. That's when I felt the first real chill. I went to our bedroom. The bed was made. That, more than anything, looked wrong. We never leave it perfectly arranged if we're going out at night. There are always clothes half thrown, pillows messy. Now it looked like a hotel room. Clean, neutral, impersonal. His pillow was gone. So was the blanket he always used. The one with the faded pattern his grandmother had made. I opened the closet. His side, the right side, the one I always shoved his shirts back into because he never hung them properly, was empty. No shirts, no jackets, no row of shoes on the floor, just hangers swinging slightly, like they'd been moved recently. I opened his drawers. Nothing. No socks, no old t-shirts, no little pile of receipts and random items he always meant to sort. It was like someone had cut him out of the picture with very clean scissors. On top of the dresser, where he usually left his watch and wallet, there was a single folded piece of paper. I knew it was for me before I even saw my name on it. My hands shook as I opened it. His handwriting, neat, steady. Jokes are funny when both people laugh. That was it. No love, no goodbye, no explanation, just that one sentence. I read it again and again until the words blurred. Then I did the thing I'm least proud of. I got angry. You would think that finding your partner gone, closet emptied, leaving behind a note like that, would snap you straight into remorse. It didn't, not immediately. My first thought was, how could he do this without talking to me first? My second was, he is seriously overreacting. I grabbed my phone and called him again. Voicemail. I sent messages one after another. Are you serious right now? You left? We're married and you just left without a word. No response. It was one kiss. You act like I ran away with someone. You're being extreme. Still nothing. Can you please come back so we can talk like adults? Delivered. Not read. He had location sharing with me turned on for years. We set it up for safety. I checked it without thinking. No location available. He had already turned it off. One by one, I tried every shared thing we had. Our joint banking app, incorrect password. Our shared streaming services. You have been signed out. Please log in again. His profile on the screen was gone. It wasn't a tantrum. It was a clean, quiet exit. That's when my anger flickered and fear finally walked in. I didn't sleep. I lay on the couch, not on our bed. I couldn't bring myself to climb into half a bed that looked like it belonged to a stranger. Staring at the ceiling, phone on my chest, waiting. Every car noise in the street made me jump. Every elevator sound in the hallway made me sit up, thinking he'd changed his mind and come back. He didn't. Around sunrise, I must have drifted off, because the next thing I remember is waking up to a stripe of light across the floor and my phone buzzing. My heart jumped. I grabbed it so fast I nearly dropped it. It was him. One message. You kissed another man. You didn't think about me. So I'm done thinking about us. I wrote back instantly, fingers stumbling over the keyboard. I was drunk. It was a stupid joke. I didn't mean anything by it. Please don't throw everything away over this. He didn't answer. A minute later, another message came. Don't contact me. My lawyer will. My world shrank to that screen. Lawyer. He wasn't cooling off. He wasn't punishing me for the night. He wasn't waiting for me to apologize the right way. He had moved straight to ending. I curled up on the couch and cried then. Not cute, gentle tears. Full, messy sobs that hurt. The irony wasn't lost on me, even in that moment. I could cry and cry and cry now, but last night, when he walked away from me, I hadn't gone after him even once. When something like this happens, you start looking for someone to tell you you're not the villain. I called my friend Sophia first. She'd been at the club. She answered on the second ring. Are you okay? No, I said. He left, like actually left. His side of the closet is empty. She exhaled sharply. Oh. This is too much, right? I rushed on. He saw me kiss someone once, in a club, and he packs his things and calls a lawyer. That's extreme. There was a pause. Sophia, I prompted. I love you, she said, but I need to ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly. What? I snapped. When you kissed that guy, she said slowly, who were you thinking about? I frowned. What kind of question is that? I wasn't thinking. That's the point. I was just in the moment. Right, she said, in the moment with another man. In front of your husband, after calling him boring for weeks, after forcing him to go somewhere he didn't even want to go. I didn't force him, I protested. He agreed. You kept saying everything was boring until he gave in, she replied. You did that thing where nothing he does is enough unless he does it exactly the way you pictured. That's not fair, I said, heat rising in my chest. You're supposed to be on my side. I am on your side, she said. That's why I'm not lying. I saw his face when that guy kissed you. It was like someone quietly unplugged him. He didn't shout. He didn't push. He just folded in on himself and left. I squeezed my eyes shut. I thought he'd come back. I thought he'd cool off in the car and then we'd talk at home. You thought he had no limit, she said softly. That's the problem. That sentence cut deeper than I wanted to admit. Later that day, I tried calling his sister. She has always been closer to him than anyone in their family. If anyone could talk sense into him, it would be her. She picked up and skipped any greeting. Mia, you've talked to him, I guessed. Yes, she said. He stayed at my place last night. Relief and jealousy flooded me at once. Good. Then you know this isn't as bad as he's making it out to be. Silence. I kissed someone on a dance floor, I rushed on. It was silly and wrong, but he left without even letting me explain. He took everything. He blocked me. He's talking about lawyers. Isn't that a bit much? She took a slow breath. I love my brother. You know that. Yes, I said. And I liked you, she continued. I thought you were good for him. But what you did... She trailed off. It was a mistake, I insisted. Everyone makes mistakes. You didn't just kiss someone, she said. You kissed someone while your husband watched. You laughed. You stayed at the club after he left. You went home hours later. That's not a single slip. That's a whole chain of choices. I felt my face heat. So you're taking his side. I'm taking the side of basic respect, she replied. You made a joke out of his pain in public. He doesn't owe you a slow, gentle exit after that. He owes himself safety. I didn't cheat, I said, grasping at that technicality. We didn't go anywhere. We didn't... You crossed his line, she cut in. That's enough. I tried a different angle. Don't you think marriage is worth fighting for? Over one incident? Marriage is worth fighting for when both people protect it, she said. He may not be perfect, but he didn't parade someone in front of you and kiss them for attention. He's always been too calm, I muttered. Too quiet. Maybe if he'd fought back more, I wouldn't have pushed this far. That's not his job, she said. It's not his job to absorb more and more hits until you finally feel satisfied. He's allowed to say, "This is enough," and step away. Her tone softened for a moment. "I'm sorry, but you're looking for someone to tell you he's wrong. I can't do that." She ended the call before I could respond. His lawyer contacted me 3 days later. I opened the email with shaking hands, expecting something explosive. It was cold and formal instead. Subject line: notice regarding separation. He was clear. He was moving out. He wanted a legal separation to start. He wanted to keep things as clean as possible. No drama, no public scenes, just papers. I stared at the screen, numb. He had taken all the heat and chaos of that night and turned it into something pure and precise. Lines on a document. I found my own lawyer, through Karina, who looked at me over her mug and said, "I'll help you, but I'm not going to tell you he's doing this for no reason." Going through the process felt surreal. There were questions about dates, assets, accounts. Things that had once been ours now had to be divided, defined, separated into columns. I kept wanting to scrawl in the margin. But this all started over one kiss. Every time that thought came, another thought chased it. No, it started long before that. It started with every time I rolled my eyes when he tried. Every time I called him boring. Every time I pushed and poked and tested how far I could go before he broke. That night was just the moment I finally saw his limit. Karina pushed me back to therapy after I spent an entire weekend alternating between blaming him and blaming myself. "You keep telling the story like a script," she said, "but you never stop to examine your own motives, only the outcomes." So I sat across from my therapist again, fists clenched in my lap, and told the whole thing from start to finish. She listened, then asked, "When you kissed that man, what did you imagine your husband would do?" "I didn't kiss that man," I said automatically. "He kissed me. There's a difference." "Did you pull away?" she asked. "Not immediately," I admitted, "but I did eventually." "How did you feel while it was happening?" she asked. I shifted in my seat. "Visible, powerful, wanted." She nodded. "And where was your husband in that moment, in your mind?" "If you're asking if I was thinking about him," I snapped, "no, I wasn't. That's the whole point. Sometimes I'm tired of always being the responsible one. I wanted a break." "A break from responsibility," she repeated. "So you handed it to him. You made him responsible for the pain of watching you. You made him responsible for leaving before he did something he'd regret." I frowned. "You're making it sound like I was trying to harm him." "Let me ask you another way," she said. "If he had grabbed you by the arm, pulled you away from that man, raised his voice in the club, and told everyone you were his wife, how would you have interpreted that?" I answered too fast. "As controlling, as jealous, as childish." "So he didn't do that," she continued. "He walked away. He removed himself. He packed his things. He chose a calm exit. And you still call it overreacting." I opened my mouth, then closed it again. She leaned forward slightly. "Is there any version of this where you accept that your actions had consequences?" she asked, "without needing him to behave badly first?" That question has been echoing in my head ever since, because the honest answer, if I strip away pride and self-pity, is I expected him to stay no matter what. Here is what I've finally had to admit, sitting on this sofa with my suitcase still half unpacked. I did not believe he would ever leave me. I believed he would get hurt, sulk, maybe sleep on the couch, maybe throw out a few angry words, but leave, move out in a single night, call a lawyer, shut down every shared account and connection. No, that belonged to other people's stories, not mine. I treated his love like a permanent background setting, always there, always on, no matter what I did in front of it. So when I kissed someone in front of him, I wasn't thinking, this will end us. I was thinking, this will wake him up. I wanted him to come back with fire in his eyes, pull me close, say, "You're mine. I'm not losing you." Instead, he said without words, "I will not stand where I am not considered." He didn't fight the stranger in the club. He didn't fight me. He simply refused to compete with a man I'd let put his hands on me. And the more I replay that moment, the more I realize that might be the most self-respecting thing anyone has ever done in my life. People keep asking me, "Do you regret it?" Yes, but not in the tidy, moral of the story way they expect. I regret that I thought my power came from making him jealous, instead of from trusting that my worth doesn't need a crowd. I regret that I turned my marriage into a stage, and my husband into an unwilling extra. I regret that I kept telling myself, "It's just a joke," long after he stopped laughing, because that's what his note really meant. Jokes are funny when both people laugh. He wasn't just talking about the kiss. He was talking about every time I teased him in public about being boring, every time I made remarks about how I could have had more fun with someone else, every time I turned his discomfort into a punchline. He had been quietly walking out of those moments for a long time. That night was just the first time he walked out for good. So here I am, not in our shared living room, not in our bed, not in the space we built together, on a friend's couch, logging into my own separate streaming account, checking my own separate bank app, living a separate life in every way that matters. He hasn't called. He hasn't answered any of my messages since the day he told me not to contact him. I know where he is through other people, his sister, mutual friends, but I haven't seen him. I doubt I will. And the story they all know about me isn't, "She went to a club and had a silly night." It's, "She called her husband boring until he felt like a shadow. She dragged him somewhere he didn't want to go. She kissed another man in front of him and laughed. He got up. He left. He chose himself." When I replay that night now, I don't see the parts I thought were exciting. The lights, the music, the feeling of eyes on me. I see one image, over and over. Him, standing there at the edge of the dance floor, watching me with someone else's mouth on mine. I didn't look at his face then. I do now. And I understand why that was the last time he ever waited for me to look back. I kissed another man as a joke. My husband didn't come home. And the lesson I am stuck with, after all the pride and excuses strip away, is brutally simple. If you treat your relationship like a game, you don't get to complain when the other player quietly puts their pieces back in the box and walks away. There's a strange stage after a breakup like this that nobody talks about. Not the first shock, not the crying on the floor part. The part after that, when the crying stops being dramatic and just turns into background noise. When your eyes hurt, but your brain keeps replaying the same scene like a bad loop. When practical life starts knocking, work emails, rent, groceries, laundry. The world doesn't pause for your ruined marriage. Very rude, honestly. I still had to go to work on Monday. That felt insane. I sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and pretended I was a normal person who had not just watched her husband walk out of a club and then out of their home. I answered emails. I nodded in meetings. I laughed at someone's joke in the break room that I didn't even hear properly. Inside, everything felt hollow. I kept checking my phone even though I knew he wasn't going to text. It was pure habit, like touching a bruise just to confirm it still hurts. The first real wave of consequences didn't come from him. It came from everyone else. On Tuesday, one of my friends sent a screenshot into our group chat. A photo from that night, the club lights, my dress, and me, right in the center, kissing that guy. My stomach dropped. She'd posted it to her stories that night and forgotten about it. You know how people post everything and move on? Those little 10-second bits you think vanish into thin air. They don't vanish. A cousin of hers had screenshotted it, sent it to someone. It bounced around. "I thought you'd want to know this is going around," my friend wrote under the screenshot. "I already deleted it from my page. I'm sorry." I stared at it for a long time. If you didn't know the context, it just looked like a fun night. Pretty girl, loud club, confident guy, people cheering in the background. But I knew the context. I knew that 3 meters behind the camera, My husband had been standing there, watching. I typed, then erased, then retyped. "Can you please not send that to anyone else?" She replied immediately, "I won't." "But people already saw it, Mia. I can't control what they did with it." The next day, another message came, this time from a coworker who follows that same friend. "Hey, totally not my business, but is everything okay with Liam?" I felt my skin prickle. This is the part I hadn't thought about at all. When you treat your relationship like a stage, you don't control who ends up in the audience. I didn't tell my parents right away. I told myself I was waiting for the right moment. In reality, I was waiting for a version of the story that made me look less terrible. My mother called anyway. "Why does your face look so tired in all your recent photos?" she asked. "Are you sleeping?" Translation: I have sensed something is wrong. I am circling like a radar. I could have lied, said I was busy, blamed work. Instead, the words slipped out. "Liam left." Silence. "What do you mean, he left?" she said finally. "You had a fight and he went to his brother's for a night." I swallowed. "No, I mean he moved out. He took his things. He got a lawyer." I heard my father in the background ask, "What happened?" My mother lowered her voice like he couldn't still hear. "What did you two do?" "You two. Not you." That felt merciful. For about 3 seconds. Then she said, "Start from the beginning. And don't twist it, Mia. I'm still your mother. I can hear when you twist things." So I told her. I dressed it up at first, talked about feeling ignored, talked about the boring routine, talked about how he never wanted to go out anymore. She listened, making small noises here and there. Then I got to the club, the dancing, the guy, the kiss. I tried to rush past that part. I tried to land on, and then Liam just left without saying anything. My mother stopped me. "Go back," she said. "You let another man kiss you?" I winced. "It sounds worse when you say it like that." She didn't soften it. "Is there a way to say it that doesn't sound bad?" I was drunk, I tried. It was on the dance floor. People do that in clubs. It didn't mean anything. "You are not people in clubs," she said sharply. "You are a married woman. Your standard is not what people do in clubs. Your standard is what you and your husband promised each other." That stung more than anything anyone else had said so far. "I didn't go home with him," I defended. "It was just a kiss." "I'm not interested in hearing the word just in that sentence," she snapped. "If your father went to a bar, danced with a younger woman, and kissed her while I watched, would you call that just anything?" I opened my mouth, then closed it. She sighed. "I'm not going to pretend he was perfect. I know Liam. He can be very quiet, slow to move. That would drive me crazy too. But he never humiliated you in public." I bristled. I wasn't trying to humiliate him. I just wanted him to see what he was risking. "There it is," she muttered. "You made him the object of a lesson." My father's voice came over the line faintly. "Ask her this," he said. "If she had seen him kiss someone, would she have stayed?" My mother relayed it. "If he did the same thing, would you have said, 'Let's talk,' or would you have ended it?" I didn't answer. Silence is an answer. They both heard it. My mother's voice softened, but not in the way I wanted. It was the softness people use when they've decided something and are sorry for you, not sorry with you. "Then you have your answer," she said. "He didn't do anything to you that you wouldn't have done to him." I hung up feeling smaller, not comforted. One thing therapy forced me to admit is that I've been living in a fantasy where I am the main character and everyone else is a supporting actor whose lines I can rewrite later. In my fantasy, I'm the misunderstood wife, the one who just wanted more fun, the one whose calm, quiet husband never appreciated her spark, the one who messed up once but deserves a heartfelt second chance because deep down she didn't really mean it. In that fantasy, he comes back eventually. He stands at the door one day, looks at me with that wounded expression and says, I miss you. I overreacted. Let's try again. I cry. We hug. Everyone claps. Reality looks nothing like that. Reality is emails from lawyers about furniture and accounts. Reality is being removed from an emergency contact form. Reality is your name slowly disappearing from things where it used to be printed next to his. Reality is you scrolling through your own social media and seeing the last photo of you together and wanting to comment, "This is the day I didn't know I was about to ruin everything." Reality is accepting that you are not a misunderstood main character in a series. You are just a person who did something very hurtful, and the other person exercised their right to walk away. I did see him once. It wasn't some dramatic, planned meeting. We didn't sit in a cafe and talk for hours. There were no speeches. We ran into each other at the supermarket. I was in the produce section, comparing prices of vegetables like an actual adult, when I looked up and saw him at the other end of the aisle. For a second, my brain did that thing where it pretends it's someone else. Same height, same shoulders, same way of checking the label twice. Then he turned his head. It was him. We both froze. The entire world shrank down to the space between the oranges and the apples. He looked fine, not destroyed, not triumphant, just calmer, less tense, as if a constant background noise had turned off. I suddenly became aware of everything about myself. My unwashed hair tied up badly, the shadows under my eyes, the old hoodie I'd thrown on. He took a small breath, then nodded once. "Hi." My heart jumped. "Hi." An insane part of me expected him to drop his basket, walk over and say, "Okay, let's talk." Instead, he stood where he was. "How are you?" I asked, because that's what people say, as if the answer could possibly fit. "I'm okay," he said. "You?" "Not great," I said before I could stop myself. "I miss—" He held up a hand gently. Not rude, just a boundary drawn in the air. "Mia," he said, "I hope you're getting help, I really do. But I meant what I said. I don't want to talk about us." That hurt in a very pure way. "I'm in therapy," I blurted, like that might change something. "I'm working on it. I understand things now I didn't before." "I'm glad," he said, and he sounded like he meant it. "I genuinely hope you become the person you want to be." He didn't say, "for me." That was the part that sliced. "I'm so sorry," I whispered, "for everything, for that night, for the way I kept pushing you, for making you feel like you were never enough." He watched me for a long second. "Thank you," he said simply, as if I'd handed him something he'd been owed for a long time, but he wasn't going to use it to rebuild anything. Then he shifted his basket in his hand. "I should go," he said. "Take care of yourself." "Liam," I started. He had already turned down another aisle. No dramatic storm out this time, just a clean exit like always.